Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Moodle Progress Tracking as a Trigger for Support Intervention. We're having a speaker from Lab, University of Applied Sciences, Sami Heikkinen. And before going to the topic, I will briefly explain you what Ani Advisor is all about, and then I'll introduce you to Sami's topic. So, Ani is a proactive student support bot that proactively engages students via instant messaging or text messaging, and it supports different kind of data-driven support intervention to students. So Ani can send these kind of nudge messages to students, and then students can be then directed to different kind of support resources that the institution may have. They might be instruction materials, videos, but they might be also support professionals. So the chatbot is aimed to recognize what kind of topic or worry the student might have, and then redirect to the right person at the institution. Our mission at Ani Advisory is to prevent 100,000 dropouts by the end of 2028. And we partner with over 40 institutions throughout Europe. We also do research collaboration with academic institutions, and actually this topic we are today presenting to you is also one example of our research collaboration. So both me and Sami have a researcher background, and also while we did this practical project, we also gathered research data on the topic. So without further ado, I'll introduce you today's main speaker, Dr. Sami Heikkinen, works as a senior lecturer in Lab, University of Applied Sciences, and his dissertation was about using learning analytics to capture self-regulation and complex temporal dynamics of its correlates, and it was published about a year ago. And today, Sami will present us collaboration between Lab, UAS, and Ani Advisor on how to combine Moodle progress data, learning analytics algorithms, and proactive support intervention through the Ani support bot. So, Sami, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Jonas. One moment, I'm setting up my presentation. And now I believe that you should be seeing my screen. Excellent. Okay, so as Jonas told you, I'm Sami Heikkinen from Lab University of Applied Sciences, and I'm working here at Lahti campus as a senior lecturer in business at the Department of Business and Hospitality Management. And this is the thing that I'm going to be presenting you is a piloting of this kind of system that we run this kind of analysis during this previous autumn semester 2025. And this is combining learning analytics and early intervention. We were trying to find out a system where we could be doing identification of students who are in need of help in their studies as early as possible during their first semester while studying at University of Applied Sciences. And if we are taking a look on how this learning analytics has been used previously in higher education context, it is very common that it has been creating these kind of dashboards for teachers who are able to see how the students are doing, and then the teachers are the one who need to make the actions towards the students if they are in need of help or assistance during their studies. But it isn't that common to reach out directly to the students and asking how they are doing. So this was the thing that we wanted to do. And the thing that we used here was these proactive chatbots that we are using Ani Advisor as a medium to reach out to the students. And we had this kind of chatbot intervention already knew based on the previous research that there is a need for, or it can be improving engagement and grades. So the results of this kind of intervention can be twofold. And according to the previous research conducted by Pesonen, this kind of medium can always also have a very high response rate. So 86% of the students have been responding to these text messages that they have received. And I think that there are some participants that are quite familiar with the Finnish higher education system. So sometimes it might be hard to reach out to students and get their responses for things. So therefore, this encouraged us to carry on with this kind of approach. So what we did in this experiment at Lab University of Applied Sciences, we used this kind of learning analytics-based risk identification, where we did a prediction model, where we used prediction model to trying to identify the students who are at risk of falling behind of their current study schedule. And for those students, we use this kind of proactive chatbot support targeted using text messages asking how they are doing. And sorry about that, there was some kind of a message in my screen. And if we've identified students who were at risk, then we use these text messages, and these were the experiment group in our experiment, and then control group were the students who were not identified as at-risk students, and they didn't receive this any support. And here, once again, some kind of basic background information that it has been also found out that even only receiving this kind of intervention, reaching out that you are someone is caring about you and thinking that how you are doing, it might be good for your studies as well, even though we don't get this kind of response, but we already know that it is very likely that we are getting the responses from the students. But what took us here that we decided to do this kind of thing? Once again, I'm trying to explain this from the perspective of a Finnish University of Applied Sciences, but perhaps this applies to other universities as well. It is very typical that the students are starting, the first year students are starting their studies in the beginning of September, and the first semester lasts from the beginning of September until the end of December. And then, as we are having multiple courses, online courses, it is very common that the teachers who are teaching these courses, they are only able to see the progress of the students in their own courses, even though they are taking different courses in parallel. So it leads us to this kind of situation that the tutor teacher, who is the one teacher who is responsible for all the incoming students in our institution, they are able to see the progress of the students sometimes at the end of January or at the beginning of February, because in December, when the students are submitting their deliverables, then the teachers have 1 month to go them through and assess them and do the evaluations and make sure that the grades are recorded in student register. So in that case, if there is a student who already lost the track, they were not able to go to the right direction. It is typical that the students should be achieving 30 ECTS credits during one semester. So if they are falling behind, let's say they are skipping assignments already in October or something like that, and if the tutor teacher can see it in the beginning of February, it is very hard work that the students have to be doing in order to get back on the track. So for this kind of a long lag, we decided that there's something that we need to do for it. And we started to think about what could be the way, how we could be identifying these students earlier so that we could be doing the intervention as early as possible. So therefore, we decided to use this kind of system that was based on the Moodle progress report. As I mentioned, in single course, one teacher can see the progress of a student on their own course, but the Moodle allows this kind of a progress report that is a sort of combined report taking this analytics information for all the courses that the students are participating. And the good thing here that we are having the first year students is it makes it easier for us to compare their progress because they are all taking the same courses that are the compulsory courses for them in the beginning of their studies. So therefore, we could be using this kind of simple aggregated deliver variables, just as such as progress monitoring and last logging and logging regularity that we used as an input for this algorithm that we used for predictions. And we did risk assessment calculation, identifying who are the students who are passive, the ones who are at risk, and who are the ones who are going to the right direction. And the ones that we found out that are the ones who are at risk were the ones who received this automatic text message that we used AnyAdvisor for. And then as the student received the text message, there was this kind of different paths that they could be following based on their multiple choice responses. And as a result of this chatting with the chatbot, there were these sort of preliminary diagnoses, what should be done for the case that the student is having, if they have some kind of a problem. And we had this kind of self-help instructions. There are a lot of cases where we have already different kind of instructions what the student could be doing. And on that kind of cases, we gave the student a website address where the instructions were found, and they were guided to that direction. And another option is that some of the cases are not that kind of thing that we could be offering this self-help, but instead on those cases, AnyAdvisor submitted this kind of a preliminary diagnosis for to the teacher, telling them that we are having this and that student who is having this kind of problem with their studies, and there's something that should be done. So then the teacher has some kind of background information to react on, and then we were having smoother process. Then if we are going to the details of the context and participant, so the students who were involved in this experiment, they were first year business students. We had all together 458 students starting autumn semester 2025. And then they all were going through the same curriculum, even for the research purposes, we used this kind of survey data that we were able to compare these control group and experiment group students. And based on that information, we had 177 students belonging to the control group, who were the ones that we didn't think that are at risk of dropping out, and 66 students who belong to this intervention group who received the text messages. So these are only the ones who have been responding to a survey, but altogether we have some more students involved in this. And here the goal that we were aiming at was to classify the students. And as we had these two groups, control and experiment, our intervention group, we used this 30 ECTS credits. That is the target goal for achieving the precise number of credits during one semester. And the ones that we thought that are getting there were the control group, and the ones we thought that aren't able to achieve that belong to this intervention group. And the system that we used here, we used Moodle activity data, the same kind of data from previous semester, to train the model that we used. And we then did a comparison between different algorithms. And based on this comparison, we found out that ElasticNet was the best performing algorithm for this kind of purpose. And then as we were trying to find out what is the optimal prediction window, well, we can see that this prediction accuracy, it is improving throughout the semester. So if we are at the at mid-December, we might be 95 or 98% sure about the students who are getting to the target and who are not. But if we are able to do that in the mid-December, we are having almost the same problem as I was describing. That was the previous system. Even though we know that some student is at risk of dropping out in the middle of December, it might be too late to make this kind of a pivot for their studies, so that the help is too late if it happens back then. So therefore, we have to be making these predictions much earlier, and we found out that on 21st day from the beginning of the semester, so it means that in this case it is sometimes at late September, we are having accuracy that is roughly 81%. So with that kind of precision, we are able to identify who are the students in need of help and who are not. And then some of you might be thinking about what is the Moodle data that we're using here. So we could have had more precise accuracy as well, but we decided to use only 3 aggregated values here. So we were using regularity of activity. So what was the amount of days since the student has logged in previous time. Then using cumulative and daily progress, using this Moodle progress tracking, and finally logging regularity, if is it accelerating or decelerating. So basically using these simple metrics, we were able to achieve that kind of a target. And we deliberately wanted to use this kind of simple variables also to improve the transparency, so that it is easier to explain what is happening under the hood, so that this isn't just a black box that we should be relying and thinking that it is doing the right kind of things, even though we don't understand what is happening. Okay, then moving forward to the intervention. So altogether we had 128 students that received the intervention. And on the right, you can see an example of the first text message that the student received. This is a translation done with the help of Gemini and Nanobanana 2 from the original Finnish version. There is some any graphics included, but basically it was text message that the student received. And then if we are going to the results that we received in the very beginning, on when we just saw that it was 21 days after the beginning of the semester that we were able to have quite good accuracy, we started to send these text messages then as we identified the students. So week 4 means here that 3 weeks is 21 days. So in the beginning of the 4th week, we sent first messages, but then in the very beginning, we found out that there are quite few students that we were able to catch with the system. So the 3rd week that we were running this analysis, we lowered the threshold to make sure that we are having more experiences about this system. And as a result, we received altogether 170 students who were classified as at risk with this lowered threshold. And then we targeted them with these text messages. And these are the things that were included in the text message paths that the students were able to follow. And these were determined based on our multidisciplinary team. There were student counselors and tutor teachers and students involved in creating these paths. And we had this kind of different kind of sort of major routes. So there was the option for personal guidance if the student has something that they would like to discuss with the tutor teacher. Then we had study skills related things that were guiding them to these eLab site guides. Then there are well-being issues. Some students might be facing community problems. They are not able to find friends or student union activities or that kind of stuff. And finally, some crisis support. Luckily, we didn't receive any students that had a need for crisis support, but for rest of these categories, we got some responses. And here again is an example of how the paths were generated. This is once again translated from Finnish with the help of Gemini and Nanobanana. So here we can see that, for example, this first message that the student received, and if they were choosing the first one, that they wanted to have some kind of help for studies and guidance, then the A response took them to the next question where they could be giving more precise description about what is wrong with their studies, and so on. So based on the path that they were following, the end result was generated and either directly to the student, giving them the self-help support, or then to the tutor teacher who was then contacting the students. And as we were reaching out to the 122 students, there were some students that received this intervention more than once, so therefore these numbers are the same for each of these slides. There were altogether 14% of these students who received the text message that told that they would like to have some kind of support. So quite many didn't have any needs, even though we reached out, and they just responded that everything is okay. And out of these 18 students, 70 students told that they actually received help after they received this intervention. It would surely be nice to have this on 100%, but I think that this is quite a nice result as well. And then when we are going to the overall goal, that in the beginning we wanted to make sure that we are giving some kind of support for students who are at risk of falling behind. We have a comparison here between the intervention group, the ones who received ANMI support, and the ones at the control group who didn't. So we were expecting that in the intervention group, there would be more students that aren't able to achieve 30 ECTS credits during their first study period, not period. I'm losing words here. What is it? Semester. Yes. 30 ECTS credits during the first semester. So this was quite surprising. So this is suggesting that they actually did better than the control group in that sense. And if we are taking a look at these results of the statistical significance, we can see that the comparison isn't significant. So we can have different kind of interpretations here. We can think that the intervention that we did is actually able to bring the intervention group to the level of the control group. Or then again, another option is that our prediction algorithm wasn't doing so well within this context. But we are willing to believe in the first interpretation that the intervention was successful for the students. So to conclude, the Moodle progress tracking, it is quite an easy thing to set up and gives a good perspective to the students on how they are doing. And based on this experiment, it seems that it is quite a nice tool for having this kind of identification and act early on to help the students. And even though we were reaching out to students who didn't feel that they are in need of support, we still think that this kind of a false alarm is a cheap thing to do, while thinking about another alternative that we wouldn't be doing anything. So the dropout is costly both for the student and the institution. So using these kind of proactive automated messages is a low cost while effective way to direct the scarce resources where they are needed. So instead of the tutor teacher calling to every student, they are able to focus their efforts to the ones who are actually in need of help. And based on the responses that we collected from the tutor teachers that were involved in this piloting process, 71% out of them hope that this kind of system could be used in the future, so that they are also supporting this. Thank you for your attention, and here is my email address if someone wants to reach out and learn more, but I think that we have some time for questions.
Yes, thank you very much, Sami. We have a lot of time for questions, so about 20 minutes. Please write any questions you may have on the chat, or you may also just raise your hand, open your mic, and ask the question. I also have prepared a few questions while you are thinking of what to ask, so I may start with one. So, deciding the progress metrics from Moodle, you mentioned that you chose to avoid this kind of black box thinking and make few quite clear attributes. But do you think there was something sacrificed in the process? Would it be more better if you just take all the Moodle data and fed it into an algorithm?
Well, there's this kind of a problem that you can have very, very precise predictions in one context. And for example, if you are using data from a single course and the course remains steady throughout the different editions, you are running it this autumn and then you are doing it again next year and so on. So it means that it might be good to make predictions in the very same kind of context, but if you are trying to use the same prediction mechanism in the different kind of context, then the prediction model expects that there is the data that you are giving it is the very same for all of them. So if we are thinking about two examples, two courses, there might be that you are organizing a course that you are having a hard copy of a book that the students should be getting from the library, and they are supposed to be reading it, and then they are supposed to be submitting assignments in Moodle environment. And then I am having a course that everything is inside Moodle. There is not anything that should be get from outside of that, and all the activities that the students are doing happens within the Moodle environment. And then if we are training the model within your course, then the system isn't able to have the same accuracy of the prediction in my course because the context is different and is looking for different indicators that aren't available in my course platform. So therefore, these indicators that we chose are the ones that are available on every course. This student engagement is the thing that is available for all of the different kind of courses, and it isn't relying on this kind of course design that you are using in the platform. So therefore, it is easier to transfer them across courses and scale up the system if there is a need for that kind of action.
Yeah, I see. Could it be even more simple? Like, could you use just one variable from Moodle? Would it work? What do you think?
Yes, it would work, but then I guess that this is once again about the balance of accuracy, because those variables that we used here, those are all available. If you would use only days since the previous login, that might be a thing that could work. But then if you would be using only that one, there's also differences between different students. There might be the ones, if you are having a course where you could be doing everything during the very first week of the course once it has started, lasting for the whole entire semester, and the students who does everything as early as possible, then they would have finalized everything, say mid-September. So for the first few weeks, it would look very nice that this student is logging in and doing activities and so on. But once they have finalized the things that they are supposed to be doing, then for the rest of the semester, this kind of prediction model would alarm that there is something wrong here. this student hasn't been enrolling for weeks, for months. So it would be giving this kind of false alarm. But if we are not worried about the false alarm, then that wouldn't be that big of problem.
That's actually my second question. Like, should we be worried about the false alarms? If I calculated correctly, it was about 1 in 4 students who got the text message intervention. So, do you think it was a optimal amount of students? Could there be even more? Could it be like half of the students, or should it be a bit less? Or how did you find the balance that 1/4 got the intervention?
Um, well, there wasn't this kind of we didn't evaluate it based on the number of students who are the ones who we want to reach out to, but instead of the progress of the studies. So therefore, I don't think that the proportion of the students should be the method that you are using here to evaluate who you should be reaching out to.
Yeah, there's a comment in the chat that it's definitely the locus of the university system where AI chatbots make great improvements in student support. Many students have different issues, but they don't know if it's worth reporting, and teachers are too busy to recognize at-risk students. And they hope that this research develops good algorithms. So, any comments on that, Sami?
Yes, that's what I am hoping for as well.
Yeah. Do you see it in within your students that there is this kind of issues that the students are hedging kind of should I ask for help? Should I bring this forward? Do you see this
Yes.
kind of phenomenon?
Yeah. Yes, if they would be how to say it, more proactive themselves, then we didn't need this kind of a system anyway. If they would have been able to identify that now I'm in trouble, I need to seek help, then we wouldn't need this kind of system that tries to predict if they are in need of help. Perhaps they aren't able to identify it themselves, that they think that I'm not in a hurry, I can do this later, so that they don't understand how much workload it requires for them to finalize all the deliverables that they have to be doing and that kind of stuff. Or there are students who think that they aren't having big problems enough so that they should be reaching out. There might be various kind of things, and I must say that I'm not the best expert thinking about what are all the things that they might be facing, but these are the things that I have learned while working with the specialists as we were thinking about the paths that the chatbot is guiding the students to follow during this interaction with them.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of learning analytics systems that kind of like flag the at-risk students and then report this to the teacher and expect the teacher to kind of do something about it, and there are workload constraints and so on. So, what was it so that you have previously tried this kind of teacher-facing systems?
Yeah.
Did you have experience on those? Yeah.
Yes, that was the time as we were running this training data. So first, back then we were also identifying the students who were at risk, and based on that information, as we had the predictions, we reached out to tutor teachers that now there are these 3 students who are possibly to drop out, and you should be acting now. And then the tutor teacher was asking, okay, I'm supposed to be acting, but what I'm supposed to be doing. So, and even though they know that there is this kind of potential problem, but then they have this scarcity of resources, they need to be also teaching their lessons and doing all other activities. So if they were the ones who were supposed to be calling to the students, then when they are able to do that is very time consuming and happens then and now, and it makes it be difficult for them thinking about the way how the work is organized. So therefore, to get the first contact with the student might take a longer time. And now with this system, we are able to have this sort of a preliminary information about what the problem is, and then the teacher can also think about what might be the ways that I could be intervening, what kind of help I could be offering for the student.
Yeah. How did the tutor teachers respond to the concept or the idea that there's chatbot who is like initiating the conversation, and then the student might reply, and then it ends on your desk? Like, I might think that some might find it somehow alienating that there is this technological system who is taking care of the students instead of me. But how was the experience of the tutor teachers in this pilot?
Well, it was right. Some of them were really happy that they had this kind of already half ready responses that they could continue working on, and some of them would have had would would have liked to have more engaged to tweak the messages that they were sending, and they would have like, wanted to see what were the actual discussions that they had, and so on. So I don't think that there is this kind of a one size fits all model that could be satisfactory for all the teachers. So perhaps there should be some kind of ways that they can decide how much they want to delve into the details of the system and how it works.
Yeah. You mentioned that some students got more than one message, but how do you think this could work if made again? Like, how many messages it would be sensible to send a student, or how often, or do you have any opinion on that?
I'm not really sure, because I guess that two messages was the maximum that the students received this time, and I haven't been checking it from that perspective. That do they grow tired to responding? I'm not sure if you would receive this kind of message every week. I guess that it would be some kind of burden, but I think that there should be some kind of a more informed decision to be made, so that I'm not really able to answer what should be the sweet spot in the number of messages that could be sent to one student.
Yeah. Let's move to the more practical implementation details. So some might be interested in how tedious or what was the process of getting the actually the right variables out of Moodle, and how to make this algorithm running, and so on. So was it easy? Was it hard? Was there any caveats in getting the data from the Moodle or the right variables?
Well, we had a meeting with we have this digital pedagogical support team meeting with a specialist who was introducing the different options that there are available, and then based on that information we sort of created the shortlist that we wanted to use. And creating this combined report requires that the administrator of Moodle has to be the one who is creating the report, but then I'm having privileges of a regular teacher, but I am able to view the report once I have received permission to view it. And then I was the one who was downloading the reports and running the analysis on my own computer. The prediction analysis requires some kind of understanding about how it works, so that isn't everyone's piece of cake, but that is a thing that needs to be done only once per institution. So therefore, it doesn't require that every teacher should be involved in that kind of process. And here we transferred the at-risk students manually from these reports to the any advisor system. But if this kind of system would be integrated as a part of the system, it could be run in such a way that that the reports are taken automatically from Moodle, and then the analysis runs automatically and transfers the students to the any advisor, and that happens automatically as well. But as we were doing this as this kind of a piloting exercise, we didn't do these automations yet, but it is possible to do them in that way.
And if you have any like detailed questions about the algorithm side, I really suggest that you contact Sami. He's one of the leading experts in the world about these kind of models. So yeah, you should ask him more details if you are interested. Well,
okay, thanks for that.
Yeah. As a as a teacher, how would you said that we cannot like make conclusions whether it was the intervention that worked or whether it was the algorithm that didn't work so well. Well, the algorithm worked well last year, but not this year. So there has been the change that has been is the intervention. So maybe it is. But how do you feel as an lecturer, as an instructor? What is your interpretation? Was the intervention working, and can you think about the mechanism why it would be so effective?
Well, I tend to believe that intervention has some kind of effect. Perhaps it is this overall approach that you might have been that the students that we are currently having, they are a bit different that we used to have. They are the average age of the students is increasing, and it is very likely that they are at working life and they are having families, and they should be studying at the same time. So it might be that they are more focused on different aspects of life than studying, and as if the studies aren't reminding about themselves, then the student might be forgetting them easier. But if we are reaching out to the students, it might be this kind of a reminder that, oh, there is this thing that I should be focusing into. And I think that we really should have more detailed understanding of what happens in the student end when they are receiving these interventions. Right now, we haven't been interviewing them. What did they think about this, and did it actually make them say change something? So I think that would be a thing that we should be focusing as well, besides these metrics of percentages of the students who are achieving the target number of ECT credits and so on.
Yeah, that could be a logical next step. And I think when there were like 18 students who like reported the support that got some help with it, so it must be that it's not only those one who were doing better with their studies, because that would be only so few of them that
Yeah.
wouldn't make the difference. So it must be to do with the like the nudge message. Like I saw that you cited the measurement as intervention research that already asking or offering something might
Yeah.
shift the behavior of the students, even if they don't actually report any need of help.
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
So, any more questions from the audience? We've covered different themes about the presentations. Now it's good time to still ask. you might just raise your hand or open your mic or write in the chat if you have anything you'd like to ask at this point.
Ja saa kysyä suomeksi, jos se on helpompaa. Voin vastata englanniksi sitten.
If nobody, I would say that I'm so pleased to hear this conversation. It was so nice and I enjoyed it much. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you. As last question, I'd like to say that if somebody in another institution wants to do something like this, what would be your tips or best practices or advice on how to go about this kind of project?
Well, I think that it is important to have a strong team behind this, because this kind of thing, it isn't possible to do it alone. Here, for example, the degree managers were involved to support this, and then we needed this support from the digital pedagogical support team to create the reports, and we had discussions with the tutor teachers and students and the student counselors and our student support team and so on. So to start this kind of process, there should be this kind of a strong establishment behind it, so it makes it easier to run it through. But then thinking about the results that we received, I'm encouraging that this kind of thing should be tried out to see if it is helpful for the organizations. And if we're thinking about the results, it is helpful for different kind of stakeholders. The students are the ones who are having the highest stakes here during their studies, but also, as we know, the institutions are really relying on how the students are doing. So therefore, even though it might take quite some effort, I think that it is worth it.
All right. Thank you a lot, Sami, and thanks for all the listeners today. We're beginning to wrap up the webinar, and we'll send the recording of the webinar next week to you. And also, if you have any further questions, please be in contact and ask for more details. And we really appreciate you joining us this afternoon for the webinar. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Still one question, if you are able to answer, Sami.
The most common type
of super requested.
Yes, I need to take a look at my background materials for a moment. Well, these were the ones who were guided to the tutor teacher. The student had more than one issue, or then they had some problems when trying to combine their studies with the other aspects of life.
So exactly what you said about the student profile, that they are in working life and have a lot of things going on. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the question, and yeah, now let's wrap up the webinar. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.